Evening, Mr. Kerr.
Andrew, good evening. You're looking very smart this evening.
Well, Gary, it's an important day today, and I just thought it was appropriate that we show the respects and kind of scrubbed up our image a little bit, Gary.
I don't think we look too bad, do we?
Well, we'll have to let the audience, I guess, Gary, be the judge of that.
I've got to say, Andy, it's the second time I've worn a shirt in the whole of lockdown.
Right.
And today, earlier on, was the first time. I put a shirt on, was going to a meeting, put a shirt on, felt really, really strange.
It feels a little bit odd, though, doesn't it? Shirt, tie. I decided to go for the waistcoat as well, Gary. Thought I'd add to that.
Yeah. Bit of blue chalk in the pocket.
Yeah, playing snooker a little bit later on. And so everyone that's joining us tonight, welcome. It's so good to see you all joining us for our very special evening tonight. Gary, do you want to tell us a little bit more about why and what tonight's all about?
Yeah, of course, Andy. So when you're planning the show, you see some dates in the future, and you always say to me, "What's happening next week?" And I knew the 11 of 11 was coming up, and of course that's Armistice Day and Remembrance Day, and we at Paisley Community Trust couldn't let that pass. You couldn't have a chat show and not have a remembrance special. So that's what this evening's all about. We're hoping it's respectful. We're hoping it's in the right tone. And of course, it's got to be Paisley related. So everything we've got, although the guests are from outside the town, we're focusing in the way into Paisley and being respectful. That's really nice of Annette to say, isn't it, Andy?
Well, thank you very much, Annette. We look all grown up. We decided that t-shirts weren't going to cut it this evening. We've got our we're kind of suited and booted, so to speak. But we're good to see you all in. Hello, Claire. Mary is wishing as well. Paul Stewart, one of our favourites now. Paul,
look at that picture. Flipping heck.
That's a bit scary, Paul.
That's just his mascara's running in that one.
Oh, I know. Well, he's been greeting. He's been greeting, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, we've made an effort. But welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is week 28 of Paisley's Community Chat Show.
Great, fantastic. And it's been another busy week. I mean, last week was a tremendous show, Gary. It was, of course, our kind of fireworks special and those people in the services that look after us. So it was good to see them on, and hope everybody had a fantastic 5th of November. But more than anything else, we hope it was safe for you all, and that John Paul and his crew and Nicky Glasgow wasn't called out too much.
Yeah, Nicky's here. Nicky's tuned in again.
Oh, handshake. There we go. Evening, Nicky. Good to see you.
PC Glasgow.
PC Glasgow. So, Gary, you've been out and about in Paisley, have you not, this week? Because
yes. So it's not. So we want to try and work our way into the show, Andy, and obviously our 10-15 minutes at the start is still an opportunity for us to talk about what we've noticed, what we've done, and of course we'll get to the remembrance part of the show and work up to that. But I've been at a few things have caught my eye. One thing I found quite interesting, Andy, on the Facebook and social media, a thing called Paisley Eats. Have you noticed that?
I have. I've noticed that popping up on my Facebook timeline. You're right, Gary. It's a new thing. It's coming soon to Paisley. What exactly is it, Gary? An app?
I think it's to rival Just Eat. So it's Paisley Eats. I think it's a great idea. Paisley. You get the app and you get the Pack Ho on it. You get Castelvecchi. You get all your local takeaways on it, and they deliver your food to you.
And is it just the takeaways, or is it the other restaurants as well? So Cardozi's or
I think everyone can join in, Andy. I think you can pile on the commission. I think it's to do with commission.
Right.
Just Eat takes that amount. Paisley Eats takes that amount. And it's all of local benefit. So I think it's a cracking thing. I'm going to look out for it.
Fantastic.
We don't do much takeaways, if I'm being honest.
No, but I think, given COVID, restaurants and takeaways have been going through a fairly tough time. So the fact that they've got this new opportunity to get their products out, get their food out, that's another good way. There was something else that was kind of food and drink related that I saw that caught my eye, and it's this one, Gary. Let me pop it up on the screen.
Oh yeah,
Paisley go on, Gary.
That's really smart, Andy. Never mind what's in it. It's a really smart design.
It's a really smart design. So this is apparently coming soon. The folks behind it are Paisley folks, inspired by Paisley's own teardrop gin, coming to a glass near you, Gary. So I think that caught my eye, and I thought, I like my gin every now and again, a wee tipple here and there. So it was great to see that. So we'll maybe try and contact the folks behind it and see if we can get a couple of samples, Gary.
Oh, they've had an advert.
Oh, exactly. I'm just thinking Christmas,
No, that's cracking. A wee bit of bubble wrap around that nice box.
Beautiful bottle, absolutely beautiful looking bottle. So that's coming soon.
I like that. I think we'll be getting that by the bucket and gallon.
Aye, the bucket, a bucket and a straw, Gary. And you can follow them on Facebook apparently, and likewise with Paisley Eats, you can follow those folk on Facebook as well.
Aye, there's so 2 food and drinks to be recommended for a local audience. So that's great. I mean, I'm taken by both actually, Andy. I'm looking forward to my Christmas stocking. It's
not long away, Gary, and
it flies in.
Well, it does fly in, and I was out and about this week for a wee walk, and I know you were out for a week, but Monday night I went out. I think it was Monday night. This is Wednesday, isn't it? Monday night I went out for a walk with one of my good pals, and we covered about 8 kilometres in Paisley. So we walked from where I stay all the way into the town and out through the place. So we just looked at all the magnificent buildings, those that are sitting boarded up. And I think between the both of us, we probably spent about £150 million renovating Paisley, because it's got such fantastic architectural gems, and some of them are not in the best condition. The old RAI hospital, sitting there looking just like it's got so much potential, whether that's a hotel or accommodation. But one thing that caught my eye, Gary, was this. I spotted my first Christmas tree, seeing as we were talking about Christmas there. So this was in Moss Street. And what a happy, cheery person that stays in there that they've got their Christmas tree up already, Gary.
I'm astounded.
First really, Christmas tree up?
Totally astounded. We're not doing it this year.
No Christmas in the Kerr household?
Nah. We might put the Santa's coming thing out at the front as usual with the tinsel trail for the reindeer, but nah, no bother.
A bit of a humbug. But where did you go on your tours this week?
I was out and about this week, went to walk, just get the cobwebs away, and I like sitting up the top of the hill at Barshaw looking out onto the town, and I take the picture now and again, and sometimes it's a good picture, sometimes it's not so good. Mostly it's a cracking picture. I've got to say it's one of the best views in the whole town, Andy. And that's from my iPhone.
That's amazing. When and you took that at the weekend there?
It's Sunday. I think that was either Sunday or Saturday afternoon.
Wow.
I was a wee bit astounded though, actually. See if you zoom in on that, Andy, you look at the car park.
Right.
Full.
Yeah.
Play park, full.
Yep.
It was really to keep your distance in the park at the weekend was quite difficult.
Yep.
But what have you? So if you get a crisp day like that, there's so many great walks in Paisley. Barshaw is one of them.
You need to be able to zoom in on that skyline, because you can get to see some of the wonderful spires that Paisley is obviously well known for.
Yeah, Andy, maybe go back to a couple of comments when Ewan's put a comment in.
Okay,
I think Ewan's actually on my wavelength. I mean, I like the localism of the Paisley Eats thing compared to a Just Eats. So it's good for way up there to Paisley Eats. I'm actually with you, Ewan. If I'm going to get a takeaway, I'll phone it. I'll drive there. I'll pass by. I'll go and get it myself.
Yeah, but in saying that though, Gary, you know, these apps that are out there, you've got to realise that that's how it's going. And what they do is, you know, okay, they take a little slice off the top, but what they're doing is driving traffic, driving volume to these companies. So I'd rather get the trade. I'd rather they be out there. If you want to go direct, go direct. But the fact
it's a good mix.
It's a good mix of that, Gary.
Yeah, it's a good mix. I know. Having spoken to, remember Alfredo was on. Alfredo Natini was on. A massive amount of his trade has moved online. Has moved to delivery. So is that mix?
Absolutely, and if these organisations can make it easy for the retailer, because some of the takeaways might not have money to invest in online ordering systems or whatever, come along, we'll put you on our app, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And then off it goes. I think it's good. But I tell you what, Gary, that actually brings up something else I spotted. There was a post on one of the Facebook pages, I can't remember which one it was, about the new multinational coffee shop retailer that has set up a new shop just next to the gym. B&M. I wouldn't plug them, but everyone will know.
The tax dodgers.
I'm not here to make any claims or allegations, Gary, but the multinational coffee.
I've just said it.
And there was a lot of comments on the post saying, spend money local in Paisley. There's some great coffee shops in Paisley. Go into, they sell better coffee. It's better value, a great atmosphere. And that was the first time I thought, wow, the things are really turning. That support of the voice for the support for the local businesses is brilliant.
Yeah, so, I grudge the brands, Andy.
Yeah,
I'm more enlightened to those who don't pay their tax.
Yeah.
So I don't go into Starbucks. I rarely get into Starbucks. Rarely get into Costa. I grudge it. I'd rather get into the local guys and give them my money. I try not to take a loyalty card. If you want to buy a coffee for somewhere, it's because you like where you're going and you like the people there. Give them your money.
Give them your money. And one last thing, Gary, that I spotted that was good news just before we do go on to our guests was this wee post from our very own Provost.
Oh, I've seen that, Andy.
Cameron. So funding has been secured to renovate, maintain and reopen the public footbridge.
Yeah, we used to park there on this side. You don't know what side I'm talking about.
I don't know I can see you down below, but no one else can.
So this side, walk across the bridge, go to Love Street, see St Mun. That's where we used to park. Very convenient. I know a lot of people did that. So that's great to.
It's great.
It's good to see.
Down at the bottom there, a wee comment there from Mike Dillon, one of the friends of the show. He was saying that Paisley North Community Council have been kind of lobbying really heavily for that. So it's great to see that all working and great news from Lorraine. So thanks for sharing that earlier on, Lorraine. Yeah. So, well, Gary, I suppose we better get on with the show. We've got some guests waiting.
A couple of wee things to lead into that, Andy. I've noticed this time of year, Remembrance Time, it's a really special time of the year. Images are up all over the place. I've noticed a couple that I thought were really touching. One, I didn't really know the story of the unknown warrior till I read about this this week. They picked 4 corpses or dead soldiers, and then they picked 1 reburied 3. That's in Ypres, I believe. And then they brought the body of the unknown warrior over to, I think it's Westminster Abbey, and buried the guy in Westminster Abbey, and all the poppy commemorations flow from that. Mm-hmm. So I found that quite sobering, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And then all the images that go through the internet about Remembrance Day and showing respect, and one jumped out to me as being such an amazing image, the Lest We Forget image. I think I'm right. If you look really, really closely, Andy, some of the shadows in the background. So you've got the guy at the front who's a silhouette, but see slightly to the left of the poppy. I think that's a shadow.
Right.
And you zoom in the back. There's other shadows of soldiers.
Very clever. Very clever.
It's a very touching image. But there's loads of them out there. But those 2 images jumped out for me.
Yeah, on you go, Gary. Sorry.
No, I just think it just takes us naturally into the show now and what tonight's all about.
Yeah, it's so important today that we remember more than anything else lives laid down by others for our freedom. And you mentioned the unknown soldier. Obviously, America has the tomb of the unknown soldier in Arlington Cemetery, just outside of Washington, and we just so happened to be there over Christmas last year. And I'd always wanted to go to Arlington, and what a place! I mean, for as far as the eye can see, the cemetery extends beyond. But we went to the tomb of the unknown soldier, and at that time there was a very small private memorial, and one of the officers played the last post on the bugle. That's the first time that my ears have heard that live, so to speak. And oh my goodness, I had tears flowing down my face. It was just such a moving, emotional event, and just an unbelievable place. So yeah, we just cannot forget. We cannot let this day pass without a proper remembrance of the day. So yeah, moving on perfectly, Gary.
Let's get on and into the show, Andy. We're in danger of overrunning our overrun.
Indeed. Our very first guest, let you do the introductions, Gary.
Yeah, so welcome in Chief Exec of Erskine Charity, Veteran Village, Ian Cumming.
Evening, gents.
Good evening, Ian. Can you hear us loud and clear?
I can, yes, I can.
Good to see you. Good to see you on the show, Ian. And then normally when we do this, we ask our guests, for those that don't know who they are or where they come from and what they do, to a brief introduction of themselves. So if you could do that yourself, please, Ian.
Sure. Yeah, as you said, my name is Ian Cumming. I'm the Chief Executive of Erskine, the Scottish Veterans Care Charity. We've been around since 1916. I've been the Chief Exec for about 2.5 years.
Wow, 1916, a long legacy. And what were some of the foundations, Ian, of when the Veterans Charity was set up?
Well, we were founded in 1916 pretty much as a direct result of the compassionate and heartfelt response from the west coast of Scotland and the rest of Scotland, seeing her sons return physically and mentally shattered from the World War I battlefields and naval gun battles. It was set up as a surgical hospital after a public meeting held by a surgeon professor in Glasgow, who said, "We've got to get our act in gear, our boys need help." And public donations were taken, and a stately home on the south bank of the Clyde, just outside Erskine town, was gifted to the organisation that was initially called the Princess Louise Scottish Hospital for limbless sailors and soldiers, and it later on became Erskine. But it's a Scottish charity. It's been run by Scottish generosity for over a century now, and we've cared for 104,000 veterans.
Wow,
that's amazing. That's amazing. And that core purpose, Ian, that flowed from there, its purposes and its reason for existing, is that just grown and changed over those years?
Yeah, it literally responds. Erskine responds to whatever veterans need. So in the early days, obviously, it was surgical stabilization, saving lives, dealing with amputations and fitting prosthetics, dealing with mental wounds, shell shock, what we now call PTSD. But it was not just to save the life; it was to give these young veterans their lives back. It was to rehabilitate them, to give them meaningful activity in the grounds of the estate. It was to train them to get back into work, give them opportunities to do that. We opened, we had over the years, they'd work in the stables, they'd work in the gardens. Eventually, Erskine opened up a furniture factory, a garden shop. to enable people to feel that they had a purpose in life after the tumultuous times that they'd encountered in the service. And as they stayed nearby, Erskine developed family accommodation for them there. So we suddenly had the hospital, family accommodation, a workplace, and really from a very early stage in its history, we'd created essentially the UK's first veterans village. Way back, long before anyone else was talking about the concept of a veterans village, and we just expand and change our services to meet the needs of veterans, whatever it is. As those veterans got older, some of them had never really left the estate, and so we created a nursing care home for them, so they could be cared for there in a fitting way that taps into their military history. In the olden days, it was very much a kind of, matrons were the big starched hats and everything moving around. But in the year 2000, we built a purpose-built nursing home, which is absolutely state-of-the-art. There's 180 bedrooms there, all en suite, with what we call the street. So it's effectively a village inside the home, where we've got physiotherapists, speech and language therapists, dentists, hairdressers, a cafe, a corner shop, and an activity centre as well, that we call the bunker. And it just gives these veterans a real sense of community spirit. They're getting fantastic nursing care, the very best clinical expertise, but it's in a place that really feels like home, and they're surrounded by fellow veterans and the spouses of veterans. They speak the same language. They've got a shared history. The history might actually be split up by decades, but they've all been put in harm's way. They've all risen to the challenge and overcome it with quite a lively sense of humour in some respects.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. I didn't realise there was so much, Ian, and I'm guessing you see residents of a wide spread of ages, and perhaps maybe from sort of more recent conflicts. Would that be a fair assumption?
Well, I mean, we've now got 4 homes. So we've got 2 homes in the Veterans Village in Bishopton. We've got one in Glasgow and Annisland, and we've got one through in Edinburgh as well. So we're looking after about 339 veterans. They still tend to be of World War II and national service age, but that's not always the case. We have had veterans who have served their time as volunteers in the 60s and 70s, and as we see things like middle-aged people, relatively young people getting diagnoses of Parkinson's disease or other degenerative diseases, stroke, even people that have had car accidents and find themselves in a wheelchair can benefit from our nursing care on a long-term or a respite basis, just coming into us to get a break from the family, and I dare say give the family a bit of a break as well. So they are getting younger, but the average age of, I think the youngest veteran we have right now is actually in his 30s as a result of a road traffic accident. We've next up probably people in their mid 40s as a result of things like Parkinson's and so forth. Excuse me. And then the average age is 85, believe it or not.
Oof.
Wow.
Our oldest veteran is the splendid Hassie Young, who's 105 years old.
Wow.
And he was born before the Air Force was created. He later served in the Air Force during the Second World War, and he lives with us in the Erskine home on the Bishopton estate. It's fabulous.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You touched on some of the different backgrounds there. I'm interested in, is there a whole mix of military backgrounds that come and stay at Erskine?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it tends to, the number of residents, or the proportion of residents we've got tends to follow the proportion of numbers that are in the services. So about 50% of our veterans tend to be from the Army, and about 25% Navy, 25% Air Force, and a smattering of those from the Merchant Navy who served operational service during wars or conflicts. So, yeah, a good cross section.
That's amazing. That really is amazing. Andy, have you got anything there that you might want to bring in by way of visuals?
By way of visuals, well, Gary, I have managed to secure a video. I'm hoping it's the right one. It came from the Erskine website. So, yeah, let's just get that on screen, I guess, to give everyone a little flavour of what Erskine Veterans Village is all about. So I'm just going to play a short video, Ian, so bear with us.
First, the surroundings are beautiful, lovely. The staff is out of this world. I couldn't praise them too highly. There's something about the place, I don't know, I love the place now.
When we walked in and we saw the whole apartment, and I thought, oh, lovely. Being able to open that door and just walk out. I still feel I haven't lost any of my independence. I think you do need support and company from other like-minded people. Once you're a veteran, there's a bond between each of you that it's lovely.
Erskine recognised that there was a need of the younger veteran coming out of the forces, so we decided to help meet that need to build 24 apartments. This allows the veterans to maintain their independence whilst seeking employment and further accommodation without the stress or the worry of going homeless. And we're also in collaboration with Scotland's bravest manufacturing company, who will provide training opportunities for veterans who can then take that on to the next step.
The progress that we see with the guys from their initial start date, when perhaps they're a bit shy, they're a bit reserved, to then, you know, a few weeks in and they're part of the team, they're part of the gang, they're having a laugh, they're having a joke, they're relaxed, they're getting involved in the activities that we deliver, they're accessing the support that we have available, and they're socialising again.
I didn't have much human contact when I was, obviously when I was at home and loans. I was starting to get a wee bit depressed with my health and that. And I came across, and since then it's turned my life around. It's been fantastic.
Wow, that's just wonderful, isn't it?
Cool, isn't it? Makes me really proud every time I see it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, one thing that I've noticed over the years, and it's maybe a subtle change in the way that you've managed to adjust the brand. That video shows that Erskine's not a hospital.
Yeah.
The way it maybe used to be branded and felt like, from an outsider, I've never been in, and it felt like the brand was saying this is a hospital, but obviously it's not.
No, I mean, well, listen, in happier times, I'd be delighted to show you both round. But no, I mean, it's absolutely, it's people's home. You know, we don't have an admissions team. We've got a moving in team, because that's what people do. They move in to start the rest of their lives at Erskine. You know, it's a real, it's a lovely family feel. You cross the threshold and you just go, I get it. You know, it's a really, it's a cool place to work. It's a lovely place to live. And, you know, we always say that, you know, we're very lucky to work in people's homes. You know, they don't live where we work. But interesting fact, I was just thinking when we're looking at the video there, I think back in 1915-16, when they were doing the fundraising for Erskine, they had to raise about £100,000 to make the hospital happen. And now Erskine has to raise £10 million every year independently. But
Wow.
if you take inflation and all that kind of stuff into account, it's the same amount of money that Scotland has been raising to support Erskine year on year for over a century. And we're very proud of that and very grateful too.
Yeah, one of the questions that have come in there, Ian, just as we've been chatting, and I guess it's relevant right now, but a question from Annette in terms of the impact of COVID on the services that you provide down at Erskine. I'm assuming there has been a considerable change in what you do and how you do things, and appropriate measures and so on put in place.
Absolutely. Well, I think COVID has had an impact on the majority of care homes. One of the first things that happened with us was we had to close to visitors slightly ahead of the government announcement. We closed to visitors, so a lot of our residents weren't able to see their loved ones for a very long time until the lockdown lifted. We are quite adept at doing infection prevention control. From time to time, there'll be outbreaks in the community of, things like norovirus and so forth. So we had to adopt barrier nursing measures. So it's like put the full PPE on before you go into a room, help someone, assist them, and then when you come out, all the PPE comes off, and then it's sanitized and so forth, and that's all put in the bin. So we knew what we were doing there, but when we didn't have access to tests early on, because obviously there was just a shortage of tests across the nation, we had to assume the very worst. So anytime anyone got a temperature, and our older citizens, they can get chest infections or a urinary tract infection, and that can cause a temperature. So as soon as they got a temperature or were looking a bit under the weather, then it was straight into barrier nursing. And we talk about the temperature, the cough, and the change in smell or taste. But in older people, the British Geriatric Society has identified there's all sorts of other things that can be associated with COVID. So someone with an upset stomach, they were straight into barrier nursing and so forth. I mean, that's just my way of saying, the staff worked really, really hard to help keep the residents safe, but at the same time you're trying to strike a balance. You don't want to put people into solitary confinement. You try and minimize the movement, maintain social distancing, do all the barrier nursing, but they need stimulation, they need company. So the staff are working just as hard at that to keep people feeling a quality of life. And we adopted a money no object antiviral fogging machines. It literally was money no object, and so our costs went up, but our veterans are worth that. And now we're just doing a bit of catch up, because obviously with the recession and so forth, there's been a downturn in fundraising. So we're just working hard to we've tapped into some of our reserves to get us through the hard times, and we're just working really hard to help people understand what it is we do and how we do it. And you guys have helped me do that tonight, so I'm very grateful.
Well, Ian, we delighted to have you on the programme, and when you see the amazing work that you do for such a worthy cause, it really highlights the significance of what you do. £10 million per year is a huge amount of money, and I've just popped there on the screen for everyone to see that if this is perhaps something that's close to your heart, if you've had loved ones who served previously and have maybe even been at Erskine, then you can visit their website, erskine.org.uk, and there's a big green button, the top right hand corner, that you can donate to support. And I'm sure, Ian, it goes without saying that every penny counts.
It really does. And with Scotland's support, we'll continue to provide top quality nursing care, assisted living, training support, and community centres for veterans all across Scotland. So we're very
fantastic. That's fantastic. And times unfortunately got the better of us, Ian. It really does fly by. But from us and all the community, we'd like to thank your residents for the service they've provided over the years, and for you and your team's support in creating that environment and that caring environment for them. And it's with our real humble thanks to everyone there. And thank you for coming on the show tonight to talk about it.
An honour, a privilege to do my job and to meet you two gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thank you, Ian. Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, wasn't that just wonderful, Gary? That what a facility, and what an amazing job that it does, and clearly, you know, well managed, well run, and well looked after by Ian and his team there at Erskine. Yeah,
and I say every week, Andy, it's the guests make our show, and it's such a real privilege to do this show tonight, and to shine a light on Erskine. I don't know half of the things they do down there, and to know that it's not a hospital, it's a caring environment. People get their independence. It's just great to hear. So respectfully, our thanks.
Well, we've got to move on, Gary.
So this middle section of the show tonight, focusing back in Paisley. Again, it's not quite what caught my eye. I've been doing a bit of research, Andy, and I stumbled across a couple of old videos in relation to the cenotaph. And I know you've got one teed up. This video of the cenotaph from 1920, I think it is.
Yeah.
Or there or thereabouts. Is stunning.
Yeah.
So we're going to show that.
Yep. We are, and let me just get that up on the screen, because I think we've got something to add to that video. Is that right, Gary? And let me just play about. You talk, and I'll press some buttons right now, Gary.
Is everything as it should be?
Well, I'm almost there, Gary. Almost there.
Yeah. But I mean, in person.
In person, oh yes, we've got a special guest waiting in the wings, Gary.
Yes, we have a surprise guest popping in. So this video, I think it's a BFI player. How long is it, Andy? Four minutes?
4 minutes, but our guest could fill that no problem.
Oh, yeah. So in the background here, we know a bit about the cenotaph. The cenotaph, obviously, is the war memorial sitting at the cross in the middle of the town, and we know a bit about it. You pass it by it every day if you're in the town, and it's a stunning piece of architecture, never mind a tribute to those that fell in all the conflicts since the First World War. But one of our friends and a Paisley historian knows so much more about it, and Les Fernie has agreed to pop in tonight to say hello.
Good evening.
Oh, flipping heck, Les.
You're in a different dimension.
You've just come through the vortex there, Les. I hope everything's okay.
Aye, everything's fine, thanks, Gary.
Hold on, Les, let me just try something, because you were actually in our studio twice. So hopefully I've taken one out. That'll kill that other version. So give me a testing, 1, 2, 3, Les.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, Andy. Can you hear me okay?
Wonderful, Les. Absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I think you're right. When I came in, I actually couldn't find where you were, so I opened up the link again.
Don't worry. Listen, what we're going to do, Les, and I'm get this right, we're going to play this video, so it's going to play in that window. I'll pop it full screen, and you're going to kind of, between yourself, Gary, and myself, we'll just have a little bit of a chat about what we're seeing, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no sound on this, but obviously that's from the cenotaph looking out. You can see the old La Scala, but look at the crowds.
Huge.
Should I be pressing something to get?
No, just chat away, Les. I mean, there's the corner there's the corner going down St Mirren Bray. So see that round there, and look at the balcony. People on the balcony, the chimneys in the background. Burton's corner.
I can't see you guys.
You can't see us. Just talk based on the video, Les.
Right. I don't know. Can you see me? Okay.
We can see you down in our studio.
Okay. Right.
You see the video, Les?
No.
Oh, can you not see the video?
No.
Ah.
I'm getting some other people up there that says to go into YouTube and stream the app.
Oh, well, we maybe not got you in the right place, Les. Let
Do
me
I
just...
need to come back out and press the link again?
Let's do that, Les. Come back in. Yep.
Yeah, we'll chat over the video, Andy.
Right, okay, just give me a second and I'll get the link from my email.
I'm going to take you out the now, Les, so just click the link and come back in, okay?
Right, okay. It's spinning just now, so hopefully we're getting something here. Yeah.
Keep the video going, Andy. Les
Right.
can come on at the end.
No problem, yeah. So Les will come in and hopefully...
So the bits that I was taken by this video, Andy, was the formality of everything, the way people were dressed, the actual amount of people there, and when we get to the end of it, it's actually quite stunning at the end.
Just to say that the lady that's pulling the tag here to unveil it, that's Mrs. McNabb, and she was invited along because unfortunately she lost her two sons.
Okay.
To conflict in the First World War. So she was invited to come along and unveil it. And unfortunately, you don't actually see the bronze statue with the video, I don't think.
You see it near the end, Les. You can just see the bottom of it. I mean, it's obviously it's not drone technology in those days, but the thing, as I was saying to Andy there, the thing I was struck by was the size of the crowd, the respect to the crowd. Who's that guy, Les?
I haven't a clue, so I'm sorry. It's caught me out. You've caught me out.
All right, it's more than likely to be a BB guy or something like that.
Yeah, it's in the orchestra, obviously, of the band that's here. Pipe band and things, you know. So look
at all those people, and there's just multi-thousands there to show their respect.
Yeah. It's when you see the event the size of the reefs.
Yeah, see that one there coming in, Les. I think that one there coming in is from the Anchor Mills, if I'm right.
See the anchor, yes, that's right. Yes, you're right enough.
Now look at the scale of that thing.
They actually lost a lot of the workers from the ambulance corps who went to fight in the First World War. They were first to sign up, and then some of the mill workers themselves signed up to Provost Cochrane.
Is that the provost at the time, Les? Provost Cochrane?
Yes, that's the provost at the time, yes. And they all came from Jack's coffee shop to walk across. That's where Burton's is now.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
They would have walked from there to start the ceremony. Can you see me okay? Yeah.
Yeah, we can see you. You're not on the main screen for now.
Can you see the image at all? I'm just going to speed it up a bit. Can you see this image?
Yeah, we can see that, yeah.
I'm just moving it up slowly on the screen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thank you. Then I can straighten it up. Now, this actually shows the amount of people. See them all on the balconies there?
Oh, yeah.
You see them? Right,
that's amazing. Up the top of the buildings in Moss Street.
Yeah, and that was one of the, it's actually quoted, and I have checked it, it's quoted as one of the beautifulest war memorial in Scotland.
Yeah, Les, we're going to show some pictures in a moment.
Yes.
Can you just show the end of that video, Andy? Because there's some crowds going away at the end of the video.
Yeah.
That I wanted to just mention right at the very end. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
A huge throng of people in there. Just
isn't that
huge
amazing
volume.
and respectful? So that if anybody wants to go and look at that, just type in Paisley Cenotaph BFI.
Yeah,
BFI. So you can look at that in your own time. But it's amazing that archive exists. And one thing that struck me with that, the date that is, almost all of those people in that video will have passed away.
Yeah, 1924.
24, yeah. It was actually they finished in 1939, you know. in the sculpture, Alice Gertrude Meredith Williamson, and she was the sculpture of the bronze part. The granite plinth with the emblems of St Andrews and St George's on either side of the plinth, with the sword coming down the middle, and then the top of the sword, you should actually be able to see the Paisley crest as well. The cost of it was just minimum £11,000. So
there's some images there, Les, that you sent us on.
Yeah, fantastic images, you say. So it's to the men and women who gave their lives on land and sea in the Great War, and the grateful remembrance of the men and women of the borough who also gave their lives for their country in the World War I, 1939 to 1945. You can see just in there on the bottom of the sculpture piece, the bronze part, is the sculpture's name.
And I understand, whilst it was Alice Meredith Gertrude Williams who was the sculptor on it, the piece is called The Spirit of the Crusades.
Spirit of the Crusader. As I say, I asked everyone, who do you think is the top of the horse? They say Bruce Wallace. But as you mentioned before, going back to Westminster, the Unknown Soldier, this is where we have the Unknown Soldier here. Not sure if because we're quoted as one of the best war memorials in Scotland is because it's the height of the actual piece itself. Robert Lorimer, he designed the Empire War Museum in Edinburgh along with Alice. So that was a feat in its own. Yeah.
And whilst on you go, Gary. Sorry,
I'm taken by the detail, Les, in the sculpture at the top. When you take a picture of it and zoom in, there's every detail. It's really quite a stunning piece of work.
It seems you look at obviously you always see two soldiers at a time, but if you look at the ones at the back, they're pushing forward. To the ones in the front, and they're full battle dress, and they're full for the capes right up to their chins and the chin straps that you see around it as well. Also, when you're on the shield on the side looking up towards the West End area, you actually see the shield, and then you see inside the horse.
Well, there's one picture that I saw earlier on, and I think the photographer might have actually been Brian Maguire. It was on paisley.org.uk. But this image, I think, is really powerful because not only does it capture the beauty of the sculpture, but there's a sort of atmosphere, a mood, and an emotion to it. And it's this picture here, which is just a spectacular image. So there's paisley.org.uk's logo down the bottom there. But that one to me just, there's something about that image.
I mean, you can actually see that the stuff in the dress around the horse. They've been done in medieval times as well, but what I'll look at it is the anguish on their faces. It's actually carved, and it's very moving. Out with today, if you go any other day and look at it, it's so moving that you'll see things that I look at it every day, but I see different things. It's especially today. It's such a moving time, and to actually think that this was done by a female artist of her time. She actually didn't declare herself as being female when it was unveiled, and she won the Academy Award for it. And she came forward that it was the first female artist of her time. She had family members who were actually ones that used to chain themselves to the railings for the women's vote for the nations, I think. So she was the kind of start of that. But marvellous. I'm just, I don't like the way that the staff itself, because it's bent over.
Right.
And, that should be sorted. It's not. So I have tried my best to try and get it sorted. When everybody says there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, well, we'll need to.
If you haven't just seen it today, it's lying down facing the West End.
All our powerful viewers, Les, are now wise to that, and hopefully they'll take up the cause. It's been great of you to pop in tonight to see us and give us that sense of history and a bit more depth of. And there's people commenting. Right. We should look up more. Let's look up to our monuments and our.
Your last guest that was on, Ian, what a fantastic guest he was too. Given great information of Erskine, and it makes you proud sometimes if you do help.
Of course, it does.
Community and help Erskine, and help the veterans that are there. Because if I'd been playing, we might not be here,
Yeah, absolutely, Les. And that's tonight's about that respect. And
yes,
our thanks to you, Les. At times caught up, we're overrunning or overrun.
Les. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time, Les.
Bye, Les. Bye.
Thank you. What an amazing piece of architecture, Andy. Never mind what's there to do and for us to go there and pay our respects at every moment. And I hope people do have a look a bit more. I remember one day, Andy, this is a bit of a tangential story. I was walking past it, and there was a bunch of young guys playing football up against it.
Yeah.
And me being me, I chased them and told them why.
Aye.
Like, you talking to me, mister? Do you know what that's for?
Aye.
Anyway.
Well, it is a fantastic sculpture. There's no doubt about that, and it really holds such an important place in the town. And I guess as we showed some of those images, it'd be remiss of us not to show one of our own images for those that know that we're looking to bring community cinema back to town. This wonderful image was created for us by our architects, and you can see the cenotaph just looking absolutely majestic at Paisley Cross there, and obviously we hope that we can deliver that cinema in the background. So it's such an icon in Paisley, and we should absolutely treasure it. Next time we're passing, I'm sure everyone's going to look up a little bit more. Absolutely. And it's Andy, apologies to our next guest. We're overrunning our usual overrun, but it's such a special show and so many things to speak about. But we need to bring in our final guest. Welcome Alison Spark from the Argyll and Southern Highlanders Museum.
Hi.
Hi Alison, sorry for having you hanging about there so long.
Oh, that's fine. It's been so lovely to hear about the Paisley Cenotaph and what a lovely memorial it was. Or it is, rather.
Well, listen, thank you so much. You've been so patient waiting in the black and white room, as we call it. As you know, it's not the green room, it's the black and white room. It's Paisley. And yeah, you've been, I guess, been able to join the show or enjoy the show from the sidelines, Alison.
Yeah, indeed. And it's been quite nice as well to have Ian from Erskine, because the Argylls have that sort of slight connection with the hospital that it began as Princess Louise's Hospital, and Princess Louise was the Argylls' Colonel-in-Chief for a good number of years. So it's nice to have that connection as well.
On that note, Alison, on that note, Alison, why don't you introduce us? Give us a little bit of an overview on who you are and your organisation and what it does.
Yeah, so I am the Project Collections Officer for the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders Museum. It's always a bit of a mouthful. Yeah, which is based within Stirling Castle. And just now we're working on a £4 million redevelopment project to try and better tell the stories of our regiment, the men that served, trying to re-engage with the communities that these men came from, and get it back to sort of the roots of telling the stories of the people rather than the conflicts. So as part of my job, I help look after the amazing objects that we have within our collection, everything from medals to uniform, to silverware, to little personal trinkets, and some really amazing pieces, and a great archive as well.
Yeah, and of course, Alison, you've been invited on the show tonight because we know the connection with the Argyles to Paisley, and I know you wanted to speak about that connection and Paisley and Renfrewshire and the Argyles. Can you talk a bit about that, please?
Yeah, so the Argyles became the Argyles in 1881. They were formed from the 91st Argyllshire Highlanders, raised in 1794, and the 93rd Sutherland Highlanders, raised in 1799. And they were amalgamated in 1881. And they had quite a vast recruiting area. And from the formation of the 91st, part of the recruiting area was Renfrewshire, which encompasses Paisley. And Paisley has a really strong connection with the Argyles. They're volunteer battalions. So the regiment was sort of born out of this fear of uprisings abroad and at home, and at a time when rural depopulation, like the Highland clearances, meant that Highlanders were drawn south to Glasgow and the surrounding area in search of work. So this, as part of that, it meant that men found new opportunities and began to join volunteer battalions, which were popping up in these new local communities. And it's really from there that the connection between the Argyles and Paisley starts to grow. Paisley housed one of these battalions, the 2nd Renfrewshire Volunteer Battalion, who formed in 1860 and had their headquarters in Paisley. And these were all part-time soldiers who could be called up for military service. And the chances of that increased when they became sort of officially under the control of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders in the late 1800s. And their first call up to action was in 1899 as a result of really heavy casualties during the Boer War for the regular soldiers. So actually 59 members from Paisley and the surrounding area were sent abroad to South Africa to take part. And from that, it's just sort of been that ever-present volunteer. They've always been part of the territorial force, what we now know as the Territorial Army, just that sort of ever-present, ever ready and willing to go whenever they're called upon.
Whenever called upon. Now, Gary sent me through 6 pictures, Alison, which I've got teed up, and I was just going to get them on the screen and maybe just go through them one by one for you to tell us a little bit about what we're seeing in each picture. And once you've kind of concluded the description, let me know to go to the next one, Alison, and I'll click it on. So I'm going to start off with the first fantastic image. And just before I do, we've got your website scrolling along at the bottom there. So
Brilliant.
Anyone that wants to visit you online at this present moment can do so.
Andy,
yes.
I was just going to pick up on something that I didn't know, and it may be true, it may not be true, but our historical TA building on the High Street must be the connection to the Argyll and Southern Highlanders.
That may be the case. I know a lot of because the volunteer battalions grew so quickly, I think they started building drill halls, and that's where they would sort of meet regularly. They would have a regular soldier come in and run training sessions and sort of in their allotted time. So yeah, that very well may be the case.
We'll
certainly need to look into that one.
Anyway, those pictures, Andy, are stunning. The history behind those images that you sent us, Alison, are something else. And there may be some Paisley guys and Renfrewshire guys in that image, and it's more than likely that that's the case.
Yeah. What we seeing here, Alison?
Oh, sorry. So these are members from the 2nd Renfrewshire Volunteer Battalion who went to South Africa. They're some of the 59. So this was taken, I think, in 1899. I'm not sure whether it was before they went or when they came back. And it looks like it's been taken at Stirling Castle as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just some of the members sort of geared up and ready to go.
Fantastic. And this next one?
Yeah, so this is members of the 2nd Volunteer Battalion became the 6th Battalion Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders just prior to the First World War. And they actually went off to France in May 1915 as part of the they went off to France in May 1915, and this was them at Stag's Den in a very snowy trench in Bedford, training in preparation to go off to France.
I see that. There's a couple that you sent us on in Paisley. One, see that one?
Yeah.
Now,
it took me a while to realise where that was, Gary, but then it was the Methodist Church Halls on the left.
Yeah, Methodist Church Halls on the left, and that's the path leading up to Paisley Abbey.
Past the town hall and to the Abbey, and what was, or what is Arnott's or Pendulum is where the fun fair used to be.
Yeah, can you see that? It's fun fair in the background. And the next one, Andy, is quite interesting as well, because it's a bit more modern, but the piazza's not there. So that's the soldiers marching along the high street.
Yeah, so this is 1961, if I remember rightly. But I added these because I was quite interested to see or to hear from you guys how much was similar and how much had changed, how much you could still identify.
Well, those two buildings that you see immediately there are still there. The building that's Grant's, that's the Glen Cinema was in there, Gary, is that correct?
Yeah. I'm assuming it says Grant Sandy. It's not another adjective or a consonant. Is it consonant? Vowel, sorry. It's not another vowel that's in there. But of course, Grant's and our whisky companies, they're long gone as well. They're up in Bells Hill.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to the right. Well, I've zoomed in these. I spent a wee bit of time zooming in all of these. And if you zoom into the bottom right, if you get a bit of time, zoom into the bottom right, you see the faces. You can just see that, for me, the change in culture from respectful opening of the cenotaph to oozing cheek. There's a wee bit of that happening.
And a bit gallus, Gary.
A bit gallus, yeah. And then there's a couple of more up-to-date images coming up.
This one, I must admit, this gave me a wee chuckle. So prepare for a wee chuckle, folks.
Oh, yeah, this is one of, I think, my favourite images in our archive. Just reading the Paisley Daily Express in the middle of the jungle in Belize, as you do.
That's something else.
That's a brilliant image, and I'm guessing the chap that we're seeing there was a Paisley buddy out in Belize, as you say.
Yeah, and we assume so. Unfortunately, I've not got a name to go with the picture. All I know is that he was a member of the 1st Battalion, and it was taken in 2000 while on exercise. But so if anyone recognises that face, do let us know.
Absolutely, we'll try and track this person down.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to ask about names and people, Alison, and if we gave you a name and a rough age, or have you got something in the archive that you can trace their military history?
We do and we don't. We have, unfortunately, we don't have an archive big enough to store everyone's service records. So we have to sort of send people down different pathways. So if it's someone who served pre-1920, you can find most of their service records or various documents relating to service through the National Archives or through subscription services like Ancestry or Forces War Records. If it's post 1920, it's a bit more complicated. You have to go through, because these are still held by the MOD, so you have to go through an application process to apply for a service record.
Yeah, okay.
But you never know. You never know what we can find in our archive.
Yeah, because we've got some images coming up a wee bit later on, and they're kind of family-related images to the Argyles, and so it might be something that we speak of offline. Andy, see if you keep the last picture to the end.
Yes.
I know that you've been when we've been talking in between times, Alison, and leading up to this. Obviously, the poignancy and the importance of this date is why we're all here. And you've done a wee bit of research, and you wanted to read out a letter that you found in the archive.
Yeah. So this is from. Oh, sorry.
Are you just going to promise to have us not bursting out greeting?
Hopefully not. I think it's more gory than anything. So maybe that should be the warning.
Okay.
So this, it's from our archive. It was a note written by a Sergeant Livingston, who was from Renfrewshire, and he was wounded in action in France in 1915, and he actually lost his leg. I think his right leg, as a result. But the note immediately jumped out at me because it begins, how often, alas, do we see these words in the daily newspapers, wounded in action, and appended a list of names? Have you, reader, in your comfortable easy chair, ever thought of the different emotions and sensations which course through a man's brain after he has been wounded? If not, I will endeavour to give you an idea by relating my own story. And he goes on to explain basically that he was a sergeant in command of a platoon at Festubert, in an area, in a trench better known as Suicide Corner. So that doesn't paint a great picture for you. And this trench, it was a first line trench, and was located, I think, 120 yards, he estimates, from the German front line trench. And he had been on his feet for 48 hours, and was so exhausted that he had to get one of his men to take over his watch post, because he had to go and sleep. And because he was so exhausted, he stumbled into a reserve part of the trench, which was a bit closer to the German front line. To enter this part of the trench, the soldier had to crawl in to be undetected, which he forgot about because he was so tired. So he just stumbled in, fell asleep, and whilst trying to get comfortable, was hit by flying sandbags as a 9-inch shell landed in front of him, and he was found by two of his men, taken away by a stretcher bearer, and he notes, which I find amazing, that he was grateful to the German soldiers who must have seen him being carried away, but didn't fire and let him be carried away to be dealt with. And he was fortunate enough, well, we say fortunate enough, to leave with his life, I suppose, although minus a limb, but was able to carry on.
Well, so it's quite something, Alison, quite something, and you have a real treasure trove of things from that time, and even small, very personal letters that you've got as well. And understand that you're going through quite a redevelopment process right now as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on to preserve and protect and display all of these artifacts?
Yeah, so as I mentioned right at the beginning, we are very close to the end, hopefully, of a £4 million redevelopment project, which has been funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund.
Wow.
And basically, we just wanted, the museum had been in its previous state for a long time and hadn't had much change. So a few years back, we kind of thought, you know what, it's time for sort of go hard or go home. We need a big change. So what we've done is we've introduced this thematic approach to the story of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, which allows us to focus sort of more in depth about the people of the Argylls, you know, their families, their communities, and I think one gallery in particular is really relevant to what we're talking about tonight, and it's called Our Scottish Roots, and it's going to focus on the people, or where the Argylls were recruited from, these communities, the strong links to territorial forces and volunteering, and how that was sort of tested with their involvement during the World Wars, and sort of exploring how the history of the Argylls has both impacted local areas like Paisley, and how these local areas have shaped the Argylls, shaped the men that had joined up, and their experiences.
Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I mean, Alison, we do an hour show every Wednesday, and we invariably overrun because our guests are just so interesting. You want to talk not for the 15-minute slot or the 20-minute slot. You want to talk for about an hour or 2 hours, because there's so much stuff. And wow, thank you so much for coming onto the programme and telling us all about that, Alison.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
That last image, Andy, we should put that last image up, because it's such a stunning image of the Argylls marching proudly through the town. And I've got you sent that one to us, Alison, and we've seen that one before. That's walking down New Street in the centre of the town. Yeah. And just to finish, could you tell us why that was and what that occasion was?
So this is actually members of the Royal Regiment of Scotland marching in 2011 as part of a freedom parade. So sorry, I'm not quite sure on the dates, but presumably having been given freedom of Paisley.
Yeah, they're allowed to hang their washing up en masse at the cross.
Oh, brilliant.
I that day missed me by 2011 for the Freedom Parade. I sadly missed that, but that would have been a spectacle I would have really loved to have seen. Fantastic. So
it was fantastic, Andy. It's a fantastic image, absolutely brilliant image. We don't do it justice actually, because it's up and down, you can't zoom in, but the colours, the vibrancy of it, and it's to the credit of all of those young men and women that have served and have gave their lives, and we're here to pay tribute to that. And Alison, I can't wait to come to Stirling Castle and when things are as they should be.
Yes, well, hopefully we'll be reopening for Easter 2021. All going well, no more delays. So we would love to have everyone come and pay us a visit.
And in the meantime, they can visit your website at argylls.co.uk.
We're also on, I should plug our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Argyll's Museum, so you can find us pretty much anywhere.
Hopefully you get a few more followers this evening. Alison, it's been just so fascinating to have you on the programme in such a special evening. You've been a wonderful guest. So Alison, thank you so much.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye now. Bye-bye.
Okay, it's well worth rolling this show on, Andy, isn't it? And the guests say it every week. It's fascinating. We learn so much on this show.
We do. And the thing is, I guess, Gary, when you're watching terrestrial TV, you know, that show has a slot, you know, and then it's on to the next programme, and you know, whether BBC, STV or Sky or whoever it is, they've got a slot to stick to. So an hour and it's done, and they have to be done by that time. But we've got the luxury, as we're broadcasting and streaming onto Facebook and YouTube, that, you know, if we've got wonderful guests, you wouldn't want to cut them short.
Well, you can't do that.
You could not at all. And the thing is as well, you know, when you look at our viewers this evening, you get a steady number coming on, and that number sticks with us throughout because, you know, they're so fascinated, and the number of rewatches that we get that watch the whole programme, it's really brilliant. And again, all of those comments, folk, keep them coming. It is absolutely wonderful. But tonight's just been so, well, it's been inspiring and educational. And I guess it really kind of makes you thankful that, well, you know, we didn't have to endure the horror and the suffering of what war was like back in those days, Gary. I
can't imagine it, Andy. We've been speaking about it in the past few days, and my son's coming up for 20.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't imagine waving him off at the doorstep with the prospect of him not coming home.
No,
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for, you know, history might, you know, at school it was perhaps, you know, a subject that some folk maybe didn't find engaging, but as you get a little bit older, history becomes something that suddenly becomes very fascinating. And I guess although it's Hollywood and an easy and accessible movie to watch is 1917, I know you've seen it.
Yeah, I agree, Andy. It's a top movie.
It's well, it's brilliant because of the fact that it's all delivered as one shot.
Yeah.
But when you get to see the, you know, no spoilers, but the bits towards the end where those young men are going over into the unknown, and you just think, what mindset must they have been in to go and do that? You know, and hearing Alison speaking earlier on about an area being called Suicide Corner, you know, these are horrors of war that we haven't even, well, I haven't personally heard about, but boy, does it make you realise
the
sacrifice. Absolutely amazing.
It does, Andy. So we're not nearly finished. We've got another 5-10 minutes to go, folks, so bear with us. A few images to come up, Andy. I know you've got some images, and I've got some images as well that we've found in the family archive.
We have.
Just to flash them up across the screen, and we can talk.
We'll start off with the care side of the family, Gary. So who are these fine gentlemen?
On the left-hand side is my grandfather. That's Robert Kerr of the Argyles. I know he served in the war. I'm not quite sure of the history of it. But in the early days of finding medals and stuff, the African Star Medal, and so that's my grandfather looking amazingly proud in his Argyles uniform. And after the Second World War, my uncle James on the right-hand side served in the Argyles.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting. I think it was you that said his father served in the Argyles and get posted to Berlin. So was my uncle James.
Yeah.
Sadly, both no longer with us, but both served in the Argyles.
Yeah, fantastic images, Gary, and it's, you know, great to see them in their splendour. It was really a thing that was kind of done then, but you know, that's the nice side of it, but the things that they had to endure. Wonderful images, Gary. I'll share the Campbell side of things. So these were some that my sister sent through. So my sister Norma, a fan of the show family, you're always going to get that, Gary. But she sent me these wonderful pictures through, and she sent me through a message earlier on, just looking at the number of people who have been in the Black Watch, the Argyll Southern Highlanders, the Marines, served with the Marines during the station in India, the Seaforth Highlanders. So there's been quite a few folks. So the chap in the left, I think, is my uncle, my great uncle John. The other picture in the oval, the one on the right of that, is my grandfather on my father's side. And then the colorized images, the chap on the left of that with the moustache, that's my grandfather on my mother's side. The chap in the middle is my Uncle Bill. And I remember my Uncle Bill. Sadly, my grandfather had passed away by the time I was born. But my Uncle Bill in the middle there, and the rather charming looking gent on the right is my Uncle Hugh. And my sister has got quite a lot of these pictures. She's on Ancestry.com, and there's a new thing I think you can do on Ancestry.com. Norma will keep me right. but you can colorize old black and white pictures.
Wow.
And see when you see these pictures as black and white, you kind of can't relate to them, Gary. It's odd.
Yeah.
But see when you see them colorized and you see the skin tones and everything about them, you know, the color in their lips, and boy, does it make it real. It absolutely makes, I mean, they're real flesh and blood. They're not black and white anymore. I know that's
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. They become people. It's almost like in reverse, Andy, when you see a landscape or a picture that you take in your phone and you say, that would look great in black and white.
Yeah.
Turning them round and making them come alive I'd love to see that image of my grandfather in colour. And because I remember my grandfather, remember him fondly, and my Uncle James passed away not that long ago, and remember him fondly. So that obvious connection to the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders.
And so Norma just telling us there, it's My Heritage that does the colours, that colours the black and white photographs.
Yeah.
Gary. So
we'll need to look out for that.
Got those pictures, clean them up, get them in there, and get them into colour. And I mean, you won't see portraits of people that you can't relate to. You'll see pictures of folk that you immediately bond with. It's quite something.
Yeah. So everything tonight has been really about real people. Connections to Erskine, connection to the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, the story of the cenotaph and Les coming in. And if we get this next bit right, Andy, have we got this next bit?
Oh, the video?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ready to go, Gary.
Okay, so this bit, we just want to ask thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We want to ask everyone just to find their own moment of pause and thought and reflection. And we're going to show a video, and the theme of it is the last post. So in respect and remembrance, a last post video for everyone to have a bit of time on their own to reflect and pause.
Quite something, Gary. Quite something.
That is something else, Andy. So that's been a really special show tonight, Andy, and for us to bring that show to you has been a real privilege, sitting in the comfort of our homes when all those kids get sent to war and didn't come home. It's really quite sobering to think that, to be able to reflect on that. And what we're going through just now is of nothing to what those guys went through.
Yeah, you look at those images, those young boys, young men, the camaraderie that they must have had to have in the face of what they were just about to go through. Yeah.
So,
quite something.
It's yeah, it is something to reflect on, Andy. And if you think too much about it, you can't fathom it. You really can't fathom it.
No, not at all. Not at all, Gary.
So we're respectful, we're thankful, we're hoping that we've done the subject justice tonight and shown our respects and dedicating the whole show to that. The subject and the respect is, it's so vast that we can't do it justice, but we hope we've done it a bit of justice, and our thanks and respect to everyone that served and gave their lives and over the years.
And those that are serving now, you know, Gary, we still have our armed forces and the bravery that those young men and young women sign up to. You know, we cannot thank them enough. You have our full support in what you do, and yeah, it's just wonderful to see everyone's supportive comments for tonight's show. We knew it was going to be special, and we're so delighted with the guests that were on, and it's certainly a memorable day. So yeah, great. I know I know I'm getting a bit lost for words, Gary, because it pulls at the heartstrings, but looking forward, folks. We've got some interesting things coming up, haven't we? Because I hope you haven't forgotten, Gary, but this week is Friday the 13th.
I'll be here if I'm allowed in. If I'm allowed to stay in, I'll be here, Andy. And,
good stuff. So,
but reflected on tonight's and moving forward. So let's look forward and see if we can do justice to Friday's show. We've got a show on Friday.
We have a little bit different show. So as some of our regular viewers will know, we were unable to bring you our Halloween special. We had some fantastic guests lined up and some spooky stories from Paisley past. We were going to cover with the wonderful David Roy, and David has agreed to join us this Friday the 13th. So we've got a very it's not a regular shot, it's a slot, it's a one-off special. We'll be advertising and getting that out tomorrow, so watch out for that, and that'll be Friday at 8 p.m. So please, everyone, join us on the show, and yeah, it should be good fun as well, Gary. Looking forward to it. But
and in the meantime, we're closing off tonight's show. I mean, that's an hour and a half of Paisley community chat. We hope we've done it justice. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone for your positive and supportive comments. We'll see you on Friday. Good night.
Good night, folks. Take care.